The Hill, 7th of July 2023, Protecting Our Backyard, the Caribbean is plagued by Chinese influence. China has emerged as a rising and crucial global power in recent years. America must not be naive to the implications of the People's Republic of China, PRC, extending their One Belt initiative in the Caribbean Basin, even though most have turned a blind eye to the approaching shadow of Chinese interest creeping into the Western Hemisphere. The security and stability of the Caribbean region directly affect U.S. interests, as it is the third border of the U.S.-Caribbean trade, immigration, the use of force by foreign nations, and the exercise of influence over the votes of international organizations all impact America. China is one of many foreign powers that have used the Caribbean as a battlefield to exercise their geopolitical dominance. Given China's ambitious global agenda and the Caribbean Basin's strategic location, the United States should be concerned about the consequences for American interests. Due to its closeness and role as a conduit to the Western Hemisphere, the Caribbean Basin is crucial to the United States geopolitically. The various island states in the area might also serve as possible locations for military operations, information gathering, and commercial ventures, providing China access to the United States' backyard. Numerous countries from the Caribbean are members of the United Nations, the Organization of American States, and other organizations where supporters of democratic American ideals and policy are required to oppose authoritarian and communist regimes. The PRC is actively involved in the Caribbean as part of its One Belt, One Road infrastructure plan, which intends to enhance its global footprint through physical infrastructure. This strongly indicates the PRC's desire to increase its hold on the worldwide market. 10 Caribbean nations, including Cuba, Jamaica, the Dominican Republic, Antigua and Barbuda, Dominica, Barbados, Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana, and Suriname, have signed the Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, as of 2022. The circumstances in which these investments are made are pretty worrying because a large portion of this increase occurs in emerging nations vulnerable to unmanageable debt. China's loans are not interest-free because their repayment terms sometimes include ambiguous conditions. They are typically supported by collateral promises to the Chinese government, such as lease rights, minerals, or other commodities. The Chinese government consciously enters into agreements with weaker nations to engage in predatory loan practices. Because they don't always have to return the loans with money, China's economic investments and financial assistance programs give Caribbean countries an additional source of finance for infrastructure projects and economic development. Instead, the Chinese government will demand control of critical infrastructure like ports that it assisted in funding. These ports, including bases and monitoring, will be strategically crucial for possible military power projection. Given the implications of China's desire to conduct unauthorized monitoring of American institutions, the proximity of these agreements to U.S. soil also raises national security issues. China's expanding presence in the Caribbean goes beyond business endeavors. The Chinese government exerts diplomatic pressure on host nations in addition to collateral agreements, particularly regarding Taiwan's recognition. China has pursued diplomatic ties with Caribbean countries by forging strategic alliances and closer political ties. Due to these relationships, China has strengthened its position in prominent international organizations and received support on global issues. This might make it harder for the United States to influence decisions in more extensive regional debates. China's expanding influence in the Caribbean is a real cause for concern for the United States. Given China's economic involvement, political ties, and potential security ramifications, the Caribbean Basin's strategic location calls for cautious analysis. To preserve the Caribbean's long-term stability, economic expansion, and adherence to American interests, the United States must aggressively engage with Caribbean countries and present workable options such as minor trade deals with island governments. Ultimately, this will help the Western Hemisphere grow and become a more competitive region. If these issues aren't addressed, American power in its backyard may wane, negatively affecting the U.S. and the Caribbean region. The at-large district of the United States Virgin Islands is represented by Stacey E. Plaskett in the House of Representatives. She has been in Congress for 5 terms at his time.